impossible upper bracket fight. I still can't believe it, Val. That's KT versus Hanwha.
Doesn't make any sense. KT's here. Hanwha Life Esports is here. I feel like the Hanwha Life Esports one, much more believable.
That one, I think the 3-0 sweep was surprising, but we did know Hanwha is a good team, right? We saw them win an international at the beginning of the year.
They did, yeah.
That did happen.
They also did win LCK last year. So there's that. Was a bit of an upset, except to Ox, who is just the Oracle.
He knew. They were due.
Apparently they were. As we are getting into this draft here, everything kind of going as expected. The Annie ban first against BDD.
There's the respect being paid to Peanuts Poppy. Might see that continue as a mainstay ban. There is obviously also the risk of Delight, but particularly with junglers really trending towards level 3 ganking, it would make sense that Poppy just will go up higher in prio. It really is one of those things to me where I feel like our bot lanes get used to being gank level 3, and then they kind of start playing more defensive and warding differently, and then it stops working. But then after a while, that knowledge kind of wears off as the Jarvan prio remains sky high. That might be picking Jarvan into Taliyah, but obviously as KT, you kind of want to deny the Orianna, which is otherwise definitely going to come through here. So I don't think
Taliyah Pantheon.
Okay. Yeah, I was actually wondering about this because I do think that the Orianna Jarvan is an insane combo, and I think Orianna also is going to be feeling very comfortable into the Taliyah. But it is BDD's Taliyah as we are considering the Xin Zhao here. For me, Xin Zhao obviously not quite as strong as the Pantheon, particularly when the Pantheon can pop off, but I do think it's a better matchup into the Jarvan, which is probably why we see this come through here for Cuz.
Yeah, that's very fair, as Pantheon has fallen off bit by bit, little by little, in terms of draft priority. As we're thinking about the Aurora, should be for the top lane, as you'd imagine we see Orianna, but a lot of talking from Zeka. Obviously can be flexed, this Aurora pick, but is still very high tier at this point, so kind of swapping the camera angles between Zeka and Zeus, knowing that it could go either way, as there is Corki.
I actually really like this here for Hanwha because what this does is it makes unclear where the Aurora is going to go. Could go towards both Zeus and Zeka. Aurora is also hard to counter, I do think, so that gives a little bit of extra leeway to that. And you pick up one of the best AD carries in the current meta. Corki doesn't really have weaknesses. Feels like he's just strong at any point. He's very safe. And I think Doctom has also had a number of exceptional performances on it, so it makes sense that they would ban it away, as I think both sides kind of getting stuff that they're happy with. Perfect on a tank, makes sense. I think that he has really been able in his most recent series to take the hit when he needs to, but not go down too far. That was always a problem for him, I think, where he was willing to just be weak-sided, which is fine, but not quite knowing when to drop the turret, which ended up with him getting punished a lot. And with Sion, there is obviously a little built-in safety as well.
Showing respect for the mid-Aurora here. It's definitely something that Zeka can play to a high level. And Sivir also going to be banned. It's pretty interesting that they banned that when they already have Jarvan, but showing respect to Doctom Sivir here in this draft. Will we see an Orianna ban?
And I know that Sivir has a good matchup into Corki, but that one, to me, feels like not the most convincing ban because you have the Jarvan. Jarvan, to me, is one of the best ways to deal with Sivir very consistently. There is a lot of appeal for KT Rolster, so maybe they don't want to run the risk, or they want to just make sure that they secure a good bot lane matchup. And with how bot lane... It's funny, because I think we've been talking a lot about the jungle, but the jungle has also been instrumental in, like, tower diving consistently and just level 3 ganking bot lane. So it kind of goes both ways. So making sure that you get a good bot lane matchup will help your jungler to have a big impact as well, which is why we see the double AD carry bans towards Doctom here.
Will we see the Nico here early, or is it just going to be something like an Alistair?
For Peter, I think we'd have to.
Or do we just wait and pick AD carry and then see what you get on the bottom lane and then pick your support? Really depends on whether you want to prio something like a Nico, or if you want to just pick Kai'Sa and threaten Kai'Sa Nico.
I don't love that for KT. I gotta say, I think that when you're playing a 2-carry composition, Kai'Sa as an AD carry, that can really struggle. Because as much damage as she offers, it is mostly burst. And Talia, I think, kind of suffers from the same issue. So Cuz is going to have a big performance here. And then it's going to be Alistar. And then we'll see what goes top lane, what goes mid. And then it's going to be the R5 Neeko, one would have to imagine here. Even into the Alistar. I think Peter's the best Neeko that we have. And will be a shock. We've also seen that matchup a lot. But he could also go towards the Nautilus, which is not a combo we always see with the Kai'Sa. I guess you could go, I'm double checking, like Rakan as well. So there are actually a good amount of options here.
Yeah, it's game one. Fearless draft. As we're thinking about Rek'Sai. Okay. Just playing this top lane, you would have to imagine.
Yeah.
The Aurora's going mid. You have a lot of flexibility in things you can pick into the Sion. As this should be Neeko. We'll see if the Rek'Sai or Alistar pick deters him from taking it.
Yeah, so Alistar, we do see a decent amount into Neeko, which is why I think Delight prioritized that, because it really does make getting consistent access to the backline a lot harder, and it does look like Peter is going to respect that. His Rakan is still incredible. Kai'Sa Rakan is also a classic, because we know the laning phase, very lackluster. I kind of wonder how it will play out, though, because the level 1 of Alistar obviously isn't amazing either, and I'm very certain both junglers are going to be looking to try and get their bot lane ahead. If the Kai'Sa Rakan really does fall behind, I think they can struggle. But if you get out of laning phase unscathed, that combo is disgustingly strong, and I think it also really provides even more access for Dokdam into the backline with the Plasma stacks. That top lane matchup, though, I can't wait to see, because we have seen the top lane Rek'Sai come back a little bit, Zay's included, but I was going to look into the Sion. I think that, especially if you can get an early lead, could be really oppressive to play into. As can't believe that game one, we're just getting the Rek'Sai immediately here for Hanwha.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I mean, they're holding on to some picks that they can obviously utilize in the future for the top lane. From stuff that was left available, you know, we had Ambessa banned, we had Gwen banned, the Aurora was going mid lane, so it kind of felt like a good opportunity when a lot of stuff was taken away that's high tier. And so we're going to get to see it firsthand here in game number 1, alongside of Kai'Sa in game number 1 for Duckdown. We'll see how that pans out as we're ready. Let's hop into the rift for game number 1. All right, game number 1 on the cards here. The winner of this goes directly to the grand finals at Inspire Arena. They don't have to play any kind of lower finals or any of this. They have earned their spot here, and they're looking to earn their spot directly into the finals.
And if you're wondering why the Rex has come back, we had the tank Rex, I think, last year meta for a while, which was not very fun and interactive for everyone playing into it. Did get a little silly. I remember we had I think it was spring playoffs as well. That was kind of, we saw it a lot, and the amount of healing was doing in skirmishes was ridiculous. But
there was no Fearless.
Yes, there was not. A couple of patches ago, they changed her E, and I'm pretty sure that this was, they've kind of, is one of those things that they keep going back and forth on, has the true damage back, which I'm pretty sure at Max Fury it used to have, then it was taken away, is now back, which is, I think, one of the reasons why we've seen the Rex are particularly into tank matchups, where obviously you can get a lot of value. As we do have something that we've already seen this playoffs, it's coming through again, which is the lane swap to come through here. So we have Dokdam by himself in the top lane, as the Kai'Sa, and especially level 1, is going to be feeling good. Zeus already taking a big chunk there from the isolated queue, and normally you'd obviously be very happy to go and brawl with the Sion level 1. Instead, I think level 2 you still have a good amount of threat, but you got to be careful, because Kai'Sa definitely has a ton of damage here, especially if he can get you isolated.
Yeah, it's essentially just a free-ranged into melee matchup in the top lane, but you're not playing top Kai'Sa. It's your AD carry, so it gets you a lot of value. The Sion doesn't need a lot of farm, doesn't need a ton of XP. Yes, can fall behind the Rek'Sai a little bit faster this way because he's sharing XP, but doesn't really matter because Sion just functions in a certain way, and eventually you just leave anyway as the Rakan, and Peter is just going towards the mid lane and leaving the Sion solo farm.
And that does make sense, as Delight is waiting here They're going to be able to find Cuz here, but I don't know. There's not really anyone else in position. They do know the blue buff is being taken, so they know Cuz is on the bottom half of the map, which should be enough to buy some safety here, as he's going to, I think, just spot him for now. Peanut might make his way over. I don't think Cuz is going to check this brush.
Cuz might get into a lot of trouble if he was going to step up there. He's going back towards his blue. They have a ward in the dry brush. And he's already here, Peanut, as in the jungle he goes. Delight setting this one up. Cuz with a very large flash to get away, but he still will lose his blue buff.
I love this play here from Hanwha Life. So what they do is they obviously... KT is expecting him to match the lane swap. Delight goes missing. That makes sense. He needs to travel towards top lane to try and match Peter, who's playing towards the top half of the map. And obviously could be playing towards his bot as well, but Corki is so self-sufficient. Makes sense that you make the read that he would be going towards the top end. Instead, gets a very early invade. Do note, he was snuck in there, and Cuz knew something was up, because he did actually ward in the tri-brush. But he was already there. And as a result, this lane state is horrible, by the way. Zeus does have Delight on the way now to help him out. They're going to get the flash out of Cuz. It's a big win here early on for Hanwha Life. And it's, again, the preparation is... Oh, no.
Peanut hiding on Bush, and Viper already on top of him with the Valkyrie. First blood given over to Viper. As Zombie Scion is getting in there. Viper probably going to have to go for a barrier here, but no. Not scared, not as scared as I am, and he holds on to it. As now we got a gank up on the top side, but that is Rek'Sai, pretty difficult to lock down.
And Zeus, yeah, if this was tank Rek'Sai, I'd be feeling a lot better in this 1v2, but that was gutted for good reason. So this wave state is still really rough. Viper not going to be nearly as buttered though, as he did just pick up a kill, courtesy of Peanut. Really is making his impact known, and this goes back to, I think, the topic of the day. The preparation for Hanwha Life in that series against T1 was impeccable. And I think we're seeing it again here. I was actually wondering, because Peanut started topside, and Jarvan is one of the few junglers that can, that's very cute, actually reliably gank no matter where he is, right? As soon as he has access to level 2.
Yeah.
But instead just path to bot, and I was like, I don't know, maybe he could punish top. He had a plan in mind, and it worked out nicely.
Yeah, absolutely. Great to see Peanut finding so much success here very early on in this match. As now we've just got the two bottom lanes in the top lane and just the standard top laners in the bottom side. As the Rek'Sai actually being denied a lot more farm behind 7 CS. But very curious to see how this matchup is going to play out.
There you see that maximum Fury E. Emax as well, going to be doing a crazy amount of damage here to Perfect. Zeus just relying on his base damage for now, only sitting on a Ruby Crystal, as we do see, I don't think they spotted Cuz there, but it's so hard to lock down this Rek'Sai. So it does look like they are going to just give up, which I do think makes sense given the prio, as well as the fact that you'd rather be the Aurora Rek'Sai Jarvan than the Scion and Talia if you are looking for a 3v3 skirmish.
Yeah, absolutely. As Hanwha Life Esports, they have not taken a first dragon, as was highlighted by our pre-show. They're going to get their first one here. KT Rolster were actually first in playoffs amongst all their games. They had something like a 66% rate of getting this first Drake. This time it will go over to Hanwha Life Esports, and it's a mountain, so not half bad. Not the best first Drake you can get, but still going to be an early objective, as now Delight trying to bully Cuz here just a little bit. Viper is coming down, gets knocked up, but that's the grand entrance down. A dodge on the wind becomes lightning, and now Viper is totally safe and has the whole team behind him. Everything utilized to try to take down the Corki, who's totally safe, and that's going to be 2 kills going over to Hanwha Life Esports.
And that is 3 kills. 1 feat already picked up here by Hanwha Life. As, oh, get me a replay of that skirmish. A lot of movement there. But you gotta question the decision for KT to really go in aggressive on these type of skirmishes. Particularly when you don't have your Rakan ultimate yet. And I think they need 6 so much more than Hanwha Life does, who also did have their ultimates available. But I think in these early skirmishes are always going to be feeling good. As we take a look here, because as you can see, KT both the jungler and support so far up here. Viper with a really nice sidestep. And then even though Viper gets trapped here, he has both sums. So he's at no point ever unsafe as the Jarvan Prio pays off massively. Zeka ends up being paid handsomely as well. And that is KT, I think, kind of overplaying their hand. You really want to try and play with a numbers advantage when you have Kai'Sa and Talia specifically. Didn't end up coming to fruition. And that is a big cost because that's going to be the Grubs as well. Hanwha Life running this early game.
Yeah, Hanwha just coming to this playoffs looking like they're ready to win a championship. I don't know what it is, but their form in the regular season, it was good. I mean, they still got second place, but at the same time, it wasn't this good. I'll tell you that. So KT running into a brick wall at first here in the beginning of game 1. It is totally run by the side of HLE. They got the first objective. They got the first 3 kills, the feats of warfare. Now they're going to get a second objective as well, with all 3 of the Grubs being taken here. And so far we haven't had as much of an impact out of Cuz. He tried to make that gank up on the top side onto the Rex side at one time, but outside of that, has just been kind of relegated to farming.
But it's because of the plan that Hanwha had, right? Like particularly in a Bruiser versus Bruiser matchup is...
All right, Viper, really testing himself here. He does still have the flash as he's trying to get out. There's the flash, and he will be able to with the help of Delight after a bit of a whoopsie. And a nice play from Peter and Duckdown.
Mistake from Viper there, really nicely punished by the KT bot lane. Fighting back a little bit there. Getting the kill would have been nice, but just getting the sums is still a big deal as, oh, he is sticking around with his refillable.
Yeah, they want to go for the play as Duckdom is kind of in no man's land here, getting engaged on. And he can only run towards trying to get the kill, though. One last auto, he will at least be able to do that, but it's still a kill being given over to Viper as well. He had to flash to get out of that one. Duckdom kind of in a wonky spot.
Yeah, the 1-for-1 saves it from being a complete disaster, but it's still Duckdom who ends up having to flash. Ends up having to give up the wave here, so he's going to be falling further behind in the CS department. And there isn't really anything on the cross map for KT, right? Like the topside play ends up working out nicely for Hanwha anyway. Viper gets accelerated towards 2-item spike. Should be getting close towards the Triforce sooner rather than later. And these 1-item spikes for Hanwha are kind of disgusting, Veldas. I'm a little worried.
Yes.
Because we have... obviously Sundered Sky, but at least Cuz will get that one as well down the line, because that lead isn't that big. But there's also Zeka versus BD when it comes to his actual first item impact. Because it's going to be Leandri's versus Seraph's. And not even Seraph's with the...
Archangel Staff.
It's going to be Archangel Staff.
250 stacks or something, very sad. Against the 2-0, Leandri's finished Aurora.
Yep.
And this Aurora, I mean, it was picked very early on. It obviously is still quite high tier here at the LCK, and it was flexible. I feel like it was a great pick to pick up. It was like tier list drafting from HLE, but it made sense because it was so flexible alongside of the Corki. And then they even pull out the Rek'Sai, not even really spending that many fearless draft bucks here early on in the series as Cuz trying to wait around. Nice dodge to the right from Zeus, but actually gets interrupted, goes into the ult, and now tries to flash away, and is not able to tunnel just yet, and is being bullied. Finally is going to get over the wall, and is making this quite difficult as he is very fast. Here comes the wall, and eventually Zeus will go down. They get the kill over to BDD, but Zeka gets some free time with the mid turret.
A little horror movie there. As nicely done there by Perfect, he simultaneously got the smash off while also, one of the reasons why Rek'Sai started the gank is because of her tunnels. He also was standing on top of the tunnel. So he denied access to that, meaning that Zeus wasn't actually able to get out. There will be a dragon given over for this, so double dragon does come through here for Hanwha Life, which is nice, but still KT fighting back and keeping the gold lead within touching distance.
Yeah. That is Rakan, so he's totally fine. We got a Cloud Soul on the way.
Ooh.
And certainly going to be pretty nice. All that movement speed as Cuz is going on in, and Peanut is going to be cut down. Finally gets punished for some aggressive play here.
Love to see it. KT fighting back valiantly, getting the kill over to Duckdom as well, which is a big deal. When that Cole cashes out, is also going to be feeling a lot better here. And particularly with this comp, if you look at where the gold is, Kill going over to BDD. Now another kill going over to Doctam is definitely a big deal. Peanut, way too far up, right? I know his bot lane is in the general vicinity, but his mid lane isn't. Mid lane is catching a wave, so he can't be that far up. Very nicely done by Peter there. Gets the Charm Flash into the immediate W, and that sets up nicely for BDD. The single target lockdown and damage that's available for KT is exceptional. And those type of messy skirmishes, I think what they gonna be continuously creating. Trying to get someone into the back line so that Doctam can dive in, that Cuz can create space. That gold lead, basically down to nothing. Hanwha Life, I think, still in a good position to get defeats the objectives that they've gotten. But this does mean that the item spikes don't really get out of control.
Yeah, they don't get out of control, and it feels like KT is in a pretty good spot to scale up here. The Kai'Sa very much got out of the lane totally fine with some of their shenanigans early on, actually ahead 100 gold as well. So feeling very good as Doctam able to pick up 2 kills for himself in the last couple of minutes. And so that means this Kai'Sa is actually going to be a problem eventually for HLE, and they weren't able to shut it down early. So going to be pretty interesting to see how this one all does pan out. Viper being very annoying, but Peter is here to heal up Doctam.
Also, this Rek'Sai has not really been able, due to the continuous lane swaps and the attention from Cuz, to get that much of a lane advantage as...
Okay. He's able to surf his way to safety.
Not even close. The only CC that can knock him off there is the Flag and Drag, which Peanut used. They still get the Talia ultimate, which I think is nice for giving yourself a little bit more safety in river plays. But BDD also not going to be too sad about not having to use anything else. Nice and back and forth early here, Feldes. So we won in the game 1.
Yeah, it's definitely setting the stage for this best of 5. Was a little bit worried when I saw the early game and HLE just dominating them. I was like, okay, well, maybe this is going to be just the Chronicler prediction of 3-0, but that's really not been the way these playoffs have gone. We've seen a lot of teams get Game 1 victories, and even very dominant Game 1 victories, and then just lose. Or have it be very back and forth.
I do remember that, Feldes.
Yeah.
Thanks for reminding me.
Didn't want to name anyone specifically, but because I am casting with Chronicler.
What team would do that? Win Game 1 convincingly and then get swept.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Well, there is one team who did that recently.
Yeah, I'm
recently,
aware.
actually.
Yeah.
On Thursday.
Yes, they did. Don't need to...
Against T1. So now KT trying to aggressively posture here, as they've already lost the feats, as you did mention, but still, if they could get a Rift Herald, would be a good way to continue getting back in the game.
And the line for KT to walk is also fairly thin, because they only have BDD and Doctam to do real damage. Obviously, Cuz right now is still going to be doing a lot, but he will kind of peter out as the game continues. So Doctam and BDD need to be very deliberate about where they are. If they get focused down, they could be in big trouble, and Hanwha Life is looking for the angle.
Yeah, Talia combo is down, and there's Delight, gets right in onto BDD. The follow-up from Peanut is beautiful. And now Cuz in a lot of trouble, nowhere for him to go. Even Zeus joins in here with his own TP. And unfortunately for Perfect, he also TP'd and did nothing, as he was a little bit too late to the fight. Not his fault, but HLE take a massive fight here around the Rift Herald.
That's exactly what we mentioned. This Talia, if you can get the rocks, maybe it can keep you a little bit safe against the Jarvan, but if you don't have flash and he ults on you, you will die. There's just no way to survive that, but all credit goes to Delight, the one that set that up. When you look at the engagement here, you can see they catched him in the choke point. That's the big deal. Peter tries to block it with the ultimate, but Delight still gets the combo. The follow-up from Peanut is impeccable. And as soon as even one of the carries goes down, the fight is just a bust. They just need to get out, but they're not really able to do so. And now the gold lead firmly back in Hanwha's favor.
Yeah, that's one way to climb that giant cliff of a gold difference over time graph.
Oh, that's now a soul point fight here possible for Hanwha. Zeka has TP, BD doesn't. BD does have his ultimate, but still need to be careful here with any fight that you take as KT. This is, you're one bad fight away from, I think, fully losing control of the game. This lead, you can still maneuver around, but I don't know. I don't think you want to give up soul point, especially against Hanwha, but you might not have a choice.
Yeah, you got 2 items here on the Kai'Sa, and so maybe that's going to be your way of actually fighting hoping that Duckdom can do enough damage with a good engage. You know, Delight down his flash now, but everybody else has their flash on the side of HLE. And so certainly a way for the rest of them to get in with some nice engages, especially Zeus and Peanut, looking at them. As, yeah, HLE just going to bully them out.
Yeah.
And they say, well, you can't really do anything about this. Perfect is nearby, certainly peeking his way in, but KT not committing to the fight just yet, as we have the Battle Rift Herald drop down just in case. Zeus is going to pick this one up. They boop Cuz away, and here comes the knock-up onto the enemy jungler. It does miss, but still going to be the Drake going their way, as in goes Duckdom on a Peanut, but now he's in the pit and in a very vulnerable spot, as immediately they just turn onto him. Duckdom is down, and that is all your damage gone. As Perfect is alone, has to flash away. Zeus tanky enough, and BDD was never able to do anything in that fight, and this one is very quickly slipping away into the hands of HLE.
Couple of things came together there. Viper was already out of the pit when the engage came in. Really big deal there is because they spotted Peter early. They had full awareness, like Hanwha really doing their homework. So they spotted Peter on the flank. Their Perfect was marked very early on, because the KT comp thrives when you can create chaos, when you can segment members off, then use the mobility of your Kai'Sa, of your Rakan, and they attempt to do that here, but because they know where Peter is, you will see here Viper is out of the pit as the rest of the team arrives, meaning that instead Duckdom goes in onto Peanut. Peanut, even if he would have gone down, wouldn't have minded, but that means Duckdom is just stuck in the pit, ends up going down, and to me, again, I really don't like the Kai'Sa in this composition. I feel like with the Taliyah, you would much rather have something that tries to play further front to back. Because Kai'Sa, that wasn't a great ult from Duckdom, but if he doesn't ult in, I don't know if they have enough prep. Maybe you just need to ult and hit the front line or just try and play it a little bit slower. But in that case, Hanwha Life probably just dip, and you don't really get anything out of it. But the result doesn't end up going very well here for Hanwha Life.
Yeah. If Duckdom doesn't ult in, he's a 2-item Kai'Sa who's sitting in the back, short range, and getting zoned away by all of those threats on HLE. And now we're looking at 3,500 gold, the lead here. 3 Drakes, as there is the engage directly on the Zeka. Nowhere for him to go up against 3, as they had the damage with Duckdom and BDD there. And KT looking at the Zotacon now.
And KT's done it a bunch of times with Peter on Nico, now with him on Rakan. He sets up the play to take down Zeka. And this might just be the other... Yeah, look, they're not contesting. Despite investing the teleport, I think just want to hold on to the turret. And KT strike again in the moment of weakness.
Yeah, it was already 22-6 petals, and now it's 33-6 in the upgraded petals. So KT all of a sudden, I mean, yes, they're down on gold. Yes, they still have this Kai'Sa we're not super happy with, but they're coming back in this game.
As Zeus goes in aggressively there, maybe a bit disjointed. I think they were looking for an engage. I also think that they thought that Peter had already backed, but he was standing a little bit further forward. And really, yeah, the back and forth keeps swinging or up and down if you're a roller coaster fan. I think that's a more apt metaphor. There is still the issue of Soul Point though, and that's something that KT is going to have to deal with. I think we have talked at length about why specifically Cloudsoul is so busted. As we take another look here, he's just waiting. Zeka knows something is wrong, but isn't quite ready. Peanut's there like, I cannot help you here, my man, unfortunately.
He did watch, though.
He did. And it's Peter getting the catch and the follow-up. As soon as someone does get CC'd, they should die in this comp, right? With the burst from the Kai'Sa and with the Taliyah, it's very important that KT keep at least this semblance of control. Because I do think this composition, once you actually fall behind, just doesn't work anymore, because you don't really have the team fight power. Unless I say that, but maybe BDD finds like a free-man scoop and then they just win.
Yeah, he might just do that.
That has happened. Like, we've seen him do that.
It's a very BDD thing to do. Not a lot of other people do that consistently.
They don't.
And BDD's Taliyah has been feared for many a reason, including that. Let's push away here from Perfect, gonna net him the Gromp. Nobody losing to the Gromp tonight, just yet. And in a minute or so, we're gonna have this Cloud Soul fight. KT trying to deny the Soul, HLE trying to pick it up. And if they maintain a gold lead, they get Cloud Soul. If they win a fight here on the streak, it's still looking good for HLE, but you said it before, it's still a close enough game for KT to kind of maneuver in, especially after that pick into Otacon, going to make things even easier.
And what's interesting to me is that when it comes to scaling, I think in terms of ease of execution, the KT comp really comes out ahead. I also am worried about the Rek'Sai, even with this Bruiser build. I do think eventually you're going to reach a point where you'll be a big side lane threat, but in teamfights it'll be hard to have an impact, as is often the case. But the Aurora, the Corki, I think these remain really big threats as the game continues. As attempted engage!
Oh, they're going to find Duck Dom in a huge way. He just goes down. He was like 10 seconds away from Flash. And that's just free. Down goes the Kaisa. The Xin follows Cuz, trying to go in and save him late. Doesn't do anything, just dies. And that is a free Cloud Soul over to Hanwha Esports.
Don't even get a Constellation Rek'Sai. Does KT? As Dom dying there. We had some defense for the previous ult into the pit. I got nothing here, Veldes. Especially with your flash not up. The light is in full vision. You know, like we should be aware. Because I know that Zeka comes in from stealth, but it doesn't really matter. You're just gonna die there when the Alistar is walking up, as it was actually 13 seconds away, which means that Veldes basically nailed it on the timing there. As did Hanwha. And that is Soul. That's just Cloud Soul now here available for them, which is going to make any subsequent play for KT so much harder. The rotations for Hanwha Life are going to be a menace. And the movement speed is just broken. We all know this.
Yeah. Look at how fast Peanut is with the home guard, just sprinting out of the base alongside of Delight. And now, I mean, the game is very handily in their grasp. It's not over just yet. KT still have Otacon, yes. And they're not that far behind, but it's a big issue when we haven't really seen many of these fights look that good for KT. It's been a lot of picks in this game for KT and for HLE before we really get any 5v5s. There was that one dragon fight, as we're going to get an engage here onto Cuz, force him to flash just like that.
And any champion that doesn't have a dash is just fodder for Jarvanel. Obviously, Cuz can dash if there's a target. Was no target, so just has to use a summoner there. And that's going to buy a lot of space here for Hanwha to just take this turret.
Yeah. I think Duck Dom learned from the last time. Peter also has to flash, so all that pick potential we saw from the Rakan is just gone.
The flash for Xin Zhao being gone is rough, but it's not the end of the world. Peter not having flash though, like I swear, there's been 2 or 3 like flash Peter plays already that have kept KT in the game.
Yeah.
Not gonna have that available now means that the effective range is a lot less. Viper doesn't have his flash yet, but he is Corki. That is something that we do need to keep in mind though, is that if at any point like Viper or Zeka just goes a little bit too far forward, gets charmed, gets knocked back, Dom dives in, I think single target kill setups will still be great for KT, but we're still at the point in the game where Jarvan is a big threat. Zay has just finished his second item spike, so just getting one target is just not going to be enough.
You have a lot of work to do here if you are KT. Meanwhile, Viper just sitting back, you know, hasn't necessarily been the main character, but at the same time is 5-0 and 6. Just not dying, been a part of all 11 kills.
Yeah, he was also, I'm pretty sure, last time we checked, leading in the damage chart category.
Yes.
Also, love this. Build, he's playing into a tank. Build Lord Doms. Good for you, Viper.
He already has enough damage for BDD and Duck Dom.
No, I know that, but
so.
I have seen people still go Collector.
Yeah.
So this fills me with joy.
But that's the item build, Chronicler. I have to do the item build. I have to follow the rules. Can't use my head. That's the way it goes. Even in pro play. Just ask BDD.
oh God, yeah. Is BDD the biggest gap between player skill and item? It has to be, right?
It is, yeah.
No one comes close.
It is. I think he's gotten better.
Oh, yes,
to be honest.
For sure.
As little engage coming in once again. That's not going to do all too much, but Zeus has an angle on the right side. Perfect. Takes a big chunk of damage.
That's not too bad here. Just getting the ghost, or giving up the ghost rather, for KT. I don't think they're going to be too bothered by that. What if we just flip? That's the way back for KT. And you know, unfortunately, these are 2 legend teams. We no longer can talk about about Rice Group
Yeah.
and how fun it would be.
It's not Rice Group. Baby.
It's not Rice Group, baby.
Very sad.
Very sad. Sad times.
Yeah.
Peanut.
Who's
is
ganking
there.
who? Peanut is so incredibly fast. He's like sprinting around the map. He is so ready to go if any fight breaks out.
He looks like he's like, you know, Poppy with Deadman's Blade,
Yeah.
but he's Jarvan.
He's Jarvan on a Cloud Rift and has Cloud Soul, 2 Cloud Drakes. It's kind of funny because when he ults, he's
stuck inside
He's
the
in
dome.
the circle.
But he can run really fast inside
yeah,
the
and
circle.
you can flag and drag out and then maybe get some value out of it.
No. I kind of want to see just how fast he can Beyblade around.
Yeah. We already saw
Oh
Kiana
my
ult
God.
the middle.
If we had Ambessa versus Rek'Sai, we could have an actual Beyblade matchup where it's like,
Yeah.
so you have the Jarvan Dome, and then they just spin around.
Trying to find Viper.
That's the flash gone.
That it is. Definitely a good look from Peter.
Maybe he was listening to the Beyblade conversation and he got carried away.
He got distracted.
Sorry about that flash Viper. Wouldn't that be cool?
He's like, it's okay, I'm Corky.
Can you imagine the two of them just spinning around?
That would be a lot of fun.
That would be.
Could make some good content out of that.
Low cancel there. And that's, as long as the Baron isn't taken, I think that KT is still in a decent spot. This is the real test, though. They don't have vision. It's going to be hard to get backline access. And they know this Baron is being taken.
The damage from this Aurora, who's on 3 items, is just way too much for them to handle.
They're just going to give it.
Yeah.
There's just no way in.
Because it's too low, we don't have the quickness or... Well, Peter just got his flashback, but... Yeah, it's just, you're not going to win that fight ever, so why even take it? Just give it away.
So, if they based a little bit earlier, I think they still should be able to. But because the Baron recalls, they're not actually going to have tempo, because this could have been a way for them to get tempo on Elder and just flip it there, like start it and just Hail Mary it.
Yeah.
If they, as soon as they realize they can't do it, I think those extra couple of seconds would have made a big difference, right? Because now they're basically getting towards the pit and the river with relative pace, because not only do they have Baron buff, they have Cloud Soul! Look at them run!
Sick haze! Oh! And he got into the Cloud Rift circle, he's even faster.
That's Cloud Rift value.
That's Cloud Rift baby. It's because Isolated has to go into his Crescent Guard already. They're trying to turn onto an Alistar who's got his ult. They isolate Viper, who does not have his flash, and doesn't seem to have Valkyrie, but he's still doing so much damage, they don't have the follow-up. And Duckdom is just in no man's land, can't do anything by himself. Viper gonna Valkyrie in, calculated, as they do get the kill on a BDD here. And at least Duckdom was able to get out alive, but it should be Elder, you would imagine, for HLE.
Might just look for
Or
the
maybe
end.
they just end.
Yeah, if they can keep the cancel on perfect, if he doesn't back, I think they can just base, or just end, go to the base as they do. And that might just be it for game 1.
Game 1 just like this. Mostly domination the whole way, by the way, of Hanwha Esports, except a couple of big picks from Peter, who kind of looked like he was the only guy doing anything, to be honest, here for the side of KT. As, yeah, you gotta send it, you gotta try, but maybe trying to make some room here for Duckdom.
It's almost, oh god.
Yeah, that Aurora has 8 kills, and the Nexus does not have any health. 0. 1-0 going the way of HLE here after game number 1. A dominant victory for them to start off the best of 5.